If you want to beat the afternoon slump, then pay attention, because the foods we eat can impact us dramatically. And I should know, being hospitalised 3 years ago and now on track, implementing key insights and learnings. Today I tried Tim Spector's Everyday Lunch. He's head of epidemiology at King's College London and co-founder of the Zoe Science and Nutrition.
We'll move on to lunch, and I'm going to show you what my really simple lunch is that is 100% score for me on my Zoe profile. And this is one that's really good for my metabolism.
100 score is pretty difficult to get to with any meal that I've found, so that's pretty impressive.
And it's also good.
But make sure you stick around until the end of this video to see how these meals actually pan out for me in my Zoe app.
My microbes, and it involves our friends, the avocado. Full of fat, full of calories, but they are actually really good for you. And we're going to be putting them on some sourdough rye bread. And while we're talking about bread, I should just remind you that the lunch I always used to have, particularly working as a busy doctor in the hospital for at least 10 years, was what I thought was healthy. I think I've got it somewhere here. This is my go-to lunch in the hospital. So a bit of tuna and sweet corn, factory bread with some orange juice, and I used to have a packet of potato chips as well. And I've discovered that that really was dreadful for my blood sugar levels. I thought it was healthy. I was completely wrong.
Yeah, the classic meal deal here in the UK. I fell into that trap. I was getting a meal deal most days from Tesco's at one point in the month. Not this month, obviously way before I've made all of these changes, but yeah, I mean, from what I've learned and all the research that I've done and the lessons that I've done in the Zoe app, you know, it's processed bread. The vegetables processed, the sweet corn in there would be more processed than what you would get if you were to just buy the cob itself and do it for yourself at home. The tuna would be more processed, the mayo would be more processed, the orange juice, you know, fruit juice is completely stripped of all its fibre when you blitz it down to that. Completely pointless. You end up just consuming and absorbing all of the sugar from the fruit and none of the fibre, which is now I know that, you know, it seems completely pointless drinking that stuff. You know, I'll allow myself on a summer's day to have like a nice smoothie or something like that. Okay, fine, that's a little choice. But yeah, again, the crisps are a thing. The baked potato crisps, I'd always get the McCoy's, salt and vinegar, you know, processed rubbish. So yeah, let's crack on. I now don't do that.
So they're rubbish. Let's go to what is a really good healthy meal. So we take an avocado, and I will put it on the bread, but with some olive oil. And of course, not just any olive oil.
Olive oil on bread for lunch. Interesting. I've only ever had butter, so I'm excited to see how this actually feels.
But extra virgin olive oil. And that's because that's the only one that has really high polyphenol scores. So we can be liberal with this. Don't worry about the calories. If it's high quality, it's going to be really good for you. Yeah, it's good. We're going to get some paprika. We're going to add a few tomatoes because they are actually gut boosters for me. And sometimes, not every time, I'll be honest, I will add some sauerkraut. This is fermented cabbage. And we just take some of this kraut out, and always make sure that you get sauerkraut that is not in vinegar. If it's in vinegar, all the microbes will be dead. Then, the final piece of the puzzle, if you've got them to hand, you can just whack on some beans. Beans are a fantastic source of everything from protein to fibre to polyphenols. So sprinkle them on. Let's have a few more. So that is lunch done, which is designed to optimize my metabolism, optimize my microbiome.
That does look good, actually. Yeah, now I'm particularly excited to try that.
And hopefully taste great.
Okay, here we go. Tip 1, extra virgin olive oil has the most polyphenols which are good for your microbes. I believe I've also heard Tim Spector say that it's the least processed of all the oils, so for obvious reasons I'm going to be going with that. I'll take the hit on the price, not really that expensive anyway, difference wise. Tip 2, make sure sauerkraut isn't in vinegar. Mine isn't either, so that's good, because otherwise the microbes are dead. And tip 3, when in doubt, add beans. So now we're going to dive into the dinner section of this video, see what Tim Spector has for dinner, which I'll be following up with a trial and a review. This is what it looks like. Let's give this a go. Definitely put too many tomatoes on that. Avocados could be more right for sure, but overall it's actually pretty banging. So I'm gonna try not to talk with my mouth full here, but yeah, like I said in my last video, which you can watch here, I found this amazing bakery in Bermondsey in London, just around the corner from London Bridge. They do this bread that's covered in sesame seeds and pumpkin seeds, and it's just incredibly tasty. There's sesame seeds throughout the dough, which makes it even better. But yeah, I like avocados, I like tomatoes, I really like sauerkraut actually. Used to have that when I was young and visited my family friends out in Germany, but I really like it now. Bean sprouts I'm getting used to, they're also a gut booster for me, but yeah, overall that's pretty good. But anyway, let's dive into the Zoe app to see how this scores for me. So the next thing we're going to add is my lunch. We're going to hit this plus button down here, select lunch. And I had this relatively late because I had quite a few things to do with work. So 3:20 was the time I ate my lunch. Again, being as specific as possible if you can remember it. If you can't, don't worry, just go for a rough time. You know, I'm sure you're not going to guess within an hour's difference of when you actually ate, so sure, a 30-minute difference is alright. So the first thing we need to add is the sourdough. We're adding the base here. That's how I sort of log my meals. I add the base, get everything set up. You know, if it's a curry, the base is the spices, the garlic, the onion to start with, the nutmeg, the ginger, all of that sort of stuff. But in this case, again, it's bread, sourdough. Fortunately, the bakery that I buy my bread from doesn't have a barcode on it, so I can't scan it. Doesn't give me any nutritional information either, so I can't put that through on the system. But nonetheless, we can get as close as we can as possible because this was wholemeal and it was shop bought. And in order to get as close as possible, this wasn't what I was going to say, but yeah, medium size. In order to get as close as possible to it, I need to add the sesame seeds that were within the dough and on the crust, alongside the pumpkin seeds as well. So what I'm going to do here is separately add this stuff just by eye. Again, I've been doing this for 4.5 months now, and yeah, I can pretty much look at a few things and do it by eye and, you know, get it within a reasonable guesstimate. Today I didn't weigh the tomatoes, but there were definitely about 40 grams, 30 to 40 grams in there. So yeah, we'll get onto that in a bit, but let me add my pumpkin seeds as well. Sesame seeds obviously being a very well scored thing for me to consume. Pumpkin seeds too, a 98 rated, and again there were about half a handful there, brings this meal up to an 85. And if we're looking at this alone, you know, we've got 250 calorie slice of bread here, with 18.3 grams of net carbs, 15.3 grams of fats, 9.5 grams of protein, and 3.7 grams of fiber, which is already very good. And now we're going to add everything else on. So I had half an avocado on that slice, the medium avocado, 0.5, there we go, 100 scoring. Just as Tim said, very, very good food for you to be eating. Next thing that went on top of that was some smoked paprika. Again, the keyboard thing is really, really annoying. Here we go. Had about 2 pinches of that. I'll save that down. And again, spices count as one of your plant portions. Obviously, again, within reason, you need to eat enough spices for that to be considered. But yeah, 2 pinches there. Again, you're being reasonable, you're being honest, and you're being accurate, which is the best thing you can do for yourself, as I found. I did lie to myself when I was younger, hence the wayside for my health. But yeah, anyway, the next thing were the tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. Here we go. Again, I didn't press delete there. Why has it done that? Here we go, 40 grams. Okay, let's go on the low side just to be safe. 30 grams there. Save that down. Bosh. Next thing that went on was sauerkraut. Again, like I said in the B-roll just before this is the one that I showed. And that was probably about 35 grams there that I chopsticked out. It was interesting because it's lower scoring than the rest of the meal, but increases my meal by 1. Interesting. I guess that's the power of fermented foods, again, which I love. Sauerkraut, I just absolutely love that. It goes so well on anything. You take your food into the office, microwave that, take a separate Tupperware box, put a bit of sauerkraut in that, and you've got a really, really good meal there. And healthy meal as well, which can help boost your scores. So eating well in the office isn't impossible. Next thing to add were the bean sprouts. Bean sprouts are actually a gut booster for me as well, as I'd imagine they'll be a gut booster for most people. It's a vegetable, you can't really go wrong. I probably had, say, about 1 serving there. It was just a handful. They didn't have, some foods have a handful, such as you can see here with the seeds. You can put down a handful, but yeah, bean sprouts, I'll just put down 1 serving because I did have a fair amount of that. Oh, and I've completely nearly forgot to add the olive oil. Again, already have it there. And that is probably 1 tablespoon that I used there, that I drizzled on. Love those drizzle nozzles. They're really, really good for being accurate. That's it. So we're going to save that down. It's the 91 rated meal. As we come to my diary home screen here, we can see that we have a current overall score of 88. As we scroll down here, at the top of the diary, which is really useful, could also be useful to add in some other things, Zoe, here, like how close you are to your fat threshold. I think that would really help some people actually understand why they get the warning sign about having too much fat, either too close or just generally within the day. Again, like I've said in my other videos, I've actually had to have a full-blown conversation. Not that that was much of a chore, because they're really good, but a full-blown conversation with one of their sort of customer services people who has helped me understand it a bit better, and that's another video. So make sure you stay tuned, subscribe, and stick around for those, and many, many more that will come out as well. But yeah, this is really good. 5 portions of plant today already, and yeah, that's my lunch. And now the lunch. Now, if you've been waiting for the thing that I've been most excited for within today's experience, this is it. It's the olive oil on bread rather than butter. I mean, I've never had olive oil on bread instead of butter. I've dipped bread in olive oil on holiday and things like that, but this was really interesting, and you know, completely cuts out the need for me having butter anymore. And I think I'll be doing that. I'll be implementing that. So that's a great thing I've taken from this. Following on from that, it was a combination of lots of different veg that I normally wouldn't have at lunch. So that was a different experience. But I think I'll be doing it because it was so fresh and it completely filled me up. You know, it's 7:30 now and I've just eaten my dinner, which I'm just about to review as well. But yeah, completely fresh. The bean sprouts were a nice surprise on top. Sauerkraut always banging. I normally, as I said before, I normally sort of had that in my office lunches. But yeah, generally very good. Love tomatoes as well. The avocado could have been a bit riper, but overall, if I'm at home, I think I'll be having that instead, just to up my scores. Why not? Since you've watched until the end of the video, I know that you'll like the next one, which you can see here, where I taste Zoe's new gut shot in collaboration with M&S.